Hey, Cahlen Lee here, and today I'm at Indian Bread Rocks, and that is a place in Arizona, kind of southeast Arizona. And I visited here last time I came down this direction, which was probably about 9-10 months ago. And it was a place that was really cool for me, and it was also the time when that blue, red, or blood moon or whatever, like that really unique moon that was happening while I was here. I actually did a video about that, so you can check that out if you want. So I'm back here again, just on my way to New Mexico, and I'm only staying here one day, just doing a little bit of work. But you can see back behind me, there's my truck with the solar, and it's charged up my electric bike, and so I'm actually going to be doing some exploring. But just to give you kind of a quick synopsis of this place, I'll switch the camera the other direction. So here's the road that I came up, and you can see it's kind of rutted, and it's actually really bad in some places, even for four-wheel drive. But that's kind of nice because it means that I can get here and no one else can. So I tend to get it all to myself. So you can see down that way the road goes. You may even be able to see the RVs. So I do have company, which is nice to have people around in case I need some help with something. And just all this brush seems to be mostly mesquite. And then this is the really interesting part. These rocks just it was kind of just sandy around here, but now suddenly there's all these rounded rocks. And so then here's the campsite. You can see, of course, the truck, but it also has a nice little fire pit. And back there, you got some nice shelter in the trees. And actually, there's tons of places where you can get shelter in the rocks if you needed to. So now I'm out on the bike, kind of doing a little more exploring. And here's just another example of how bad the road can get. Now, that's a pretty deep crevasse, and if I actually got my tire right in there, I think I would probably get stuck. I would at least probably have to go in reverse to get out of that. So now I'm out on kind of the main road into this place, and this is the road that most people, and I would guess even RVs, would be able to drive on. There's one thing to know about, is that it is very sandy. It's essentially a beach down at this point. And it's actually an interesting thing to think about. So all of this sand, it's pretty coarse. It's not like really fine sand. If you go and look at the rocks up that way, you find that it's all made up of basically this stuff stuck together. And so that means that this wasn't formed by, melting in a hot place in the earth, and then that's the shape that it took. It did that at one point, but then it was all pulverized somehow, by water or whatever, turned into sand, and then it congealed together as a rock of a different kind. So it's just something interesting to think about. And all of these shapes, this rock up here, it's really brittle. Like, you can just break it with your fingers. And so the interesting shapes that these mountains have, I would guess, is due to just wind over time, just blowing all these curved little things into it. And also there seems to be some evidence that people lived here, probably native people. It is called Indian Bread Rocks, and there are places where there's carvings into the ground and stuff like that, or people have been grinding probably the pods from the mesquite trees, and probably making some sort of food out of it, maybe Indian bread. There's a fort, I think Fort Bowie, nearby here, so there was probably some interactions going on between the natives who were living up here and the people down at Fort Bowie. So now I've driven up behind those rocks where I was camped. You can see the landscape changes really quickly. Now we're back to kind of the more hilly, like hills with dirt on top of them. But you do see, in some cases, some of those rounded rocks poking out. And so I actually suspect that the reason that the rocks where I was at are exposed is because the wind just happens to blow through here in that way, and it eventually blew off all of that dirt. So the dirt hills around here are likely those rounded underneath all of the dirt. Another interesting thing is that there's actually a ranch out here. I don't know if you can see that house way out there. But they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm pretty sure they don't have electricity out here. They probably have a well. But there are definitely cows out here, so these people are pretty self-sufficient, and I respect that a lot. Check this out. So this is a anthill, and you can see it's surrounded by little green leaves. And so I was wondering, where's that coming from? Because none of these shrubs around here have that type of leaf. And so then I noticed there's a little trail of the leaves that you also see the ants crawling on, and it goes way over here to this mesquite tree. So these are the leaves that the mesquite tree makes, and apparently they are useful to the ants. So I'm now here at the kind of the base, the starting point of where the rocks are starting. I'm walking around and I came across this. It's this little kind of alcove, which if you needed to, you could climb in there, and there's enough space to lie down, and there's an overhang, so you would be protected from the elements. So let's take a closer look at that. So here's the entrance here, kind of past these yellow flowers, and just inside this little mound here. You can see already there's sort of an overhang. You could lie down there, keep out of the rain. And it actually goes deeper in. And then you could climb up through that hole. Another interesting thing to note is you can see there's this line that goes from the top of the rock all the way down. So this is actually like a layer that formed when this whole rock was getting kind of congealed into something and turned into a certain type of rock. And it's a layer that formed which is made up of different stuff than the things on either side. And when I look at it, it looks like it probably has a higher consistency of clay or organic material. And so it seems like this kind of represents something that happened. I don't know if it was a short-term thing like a flood or something like that, or it could have been just a different situation over, several hundred years or something like that. But it's also interesting to note that it goes up and down rather than horizontal, which is what we would expect if it was forming in layers on the ground. And so this type of thing happens when rocks does form like this horizontally, and it'll get the layers, but then some sort of situation, seismic, or just the rock rolling or getting moved by water or something like that, it no longer is in its orientation that it was when it was formed. And so you can see just how drastic of a change it is. This thing is basically just turned like that. So who knows where it actually was when it formed, who knows how long it took, but it'd sure be good information to know. So if you have any ideas about that, I hope you let us know down in the comments below. So here I am with a little cactus, and this guy looks like he's got some yummy food to eat, but I'm not gonna grab it just yet because I don't actually know for sure if that's something that I can eat. But I'll tell you, it does look good, whatever it is. So if you happen to know what that is, I hope you let me know too. I'm in another little alcove, kind of a little spot you could lay down. And there's this big indentation in the wall. And it looks like this was probably done by a human for some reason. And then just kind of one last look at these awesome rocks. I don't know if you can see up there, a ton of crows, and they're always there. It's like this family who's sitting up there at the very top of this place, ruling the roost. And there's lots of things like this like rocks stacked on top of each other in ways that seem unlikely to have been done by accident. So something I always like to think about when I stop somewhere is to start kind of assessing what are the resources available if I needed to stay here long term in terms of food, water, and shelter and that type of stuff. So if I were going to rate this place, I'd say it does pretty good on shelter. It's not like totally enclosed type situations, but the weather here is generally sunny, so you're mostly just looking for shade. And in terms of food, there's actually quite a bit. You could You could eat the mesquite pods. You could probably eat the mesquite leaves. I'm not totally sure about that. There's definitely fruit on the cacti around here that you can eat. There's tons of like rabbits and squirrels and things like that. There's tons of ants and other insects which you can eat. And so really the only issue that I know of would be the water. And I haven't actually seen any water out here, and I don't think it rains very often. But there were a lot of mosquitoes last night, which makes me think there must be some standing water somewhere. So it's possible that some of you would be able to find it. I know there's spots up there where I can see they've like dug little kind of troughs into the rock, so that it will collect water on like a dewy morning, or if it rains a little bit. And I think they just go from place to place and kind of collect this water. But you know, if it hasn't rained in a while, or it hasn't been a dewy morning, then there isn't really going to be anything there. So that would be the main problem. Of course, that's probably the biggest problem, because you'll be toast after a few days of no water. So I don't know, maybe when people were living here there was a stream nearby or something, or maybe there still is. Anyways, so that's Indian Bread Rocks, and one of my favorite places to stay, and I hope to come back again sometime soon. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.